He didn't speak when they laughed at him, when they accused him, or when they handed down their verdict. But when he made a single phone call, everything shifted. What kind of man has the ability to shake a courtroom without raising his voice? If that question's on your mind, you're exactly where you need to be. Let me take you back to the moment he entered that courtroom, alone, misunderstood, underestimated, carrying a truth that no one could see coming. The heavy door creaked open with a deep groan, and the room fell silent, as if it knew something was about to change. A few heads turned. Most didn't. Men like him didn't get much attention anymore. But he walked in anyway, slow and deliberate. Not with fear, but with purpose, as if the very passage of time slowed to allow him to pass. In that moment, no one in the room had the right to hurry him. His name was Jack Lawson, 79 years old. Though his frame still bore the marks of a man who had carried burdens heavier than most could imagine, he wore a faded green shirt, the collar frayed from years of wear. His trousers, once sharp, were now worn by countless seasons. His boots cracked at the seams, but were polished with care, a silent testament to a man who refused to face the world in anything less than full integrity. In his weathered hand, he held a brown felt hat, soft from years of use, cradled the way a soldier might hold a Medal of Honor, not for show, but as a piece of his past. As he reached the defense table, whispers rippled through the room. They weren't loud, but they were there. "Here comes another one of those old drifters," someone muttered. "Why even bother?" Jack didn't flinch. He'd heard it all before. In bus terminals, at offices he once ran, in places where he'd once been welcome. But not anymore. He gently set his hat down on the table, clasped his hands together in quiet contemplation, and looked straight ahead, not at the judge, not at the ceiling, but right ahead, firm and unwavering. The charge against him was simple: illegal occupation of public property. To the court, it was just another violation, another case. But what they didn't see was the truth. Jack had spent less than an hour sitting on the porch of the house he had built with his own hands. The same porch where he and his late wife had watched sunsets, where he'd painted the trim every year until his aching joints couldn't reach the top. It was the place where he held her hand for the last time before she passed. The papers said the house didn't belong to him anymore, but the land remembered, and so did he. Jack had no lawyer, no cause to rally. He came alone, not because no one would stand with him, but because he refused to let anyone else carry this moment for him. He didn't look away when Judge Gregory Hunter entered the room. He didn't twitch when his name was called. He had been judged in larger rooms for lesser things. But today, he wasn't there to defend himself. He was there to see if the system still had the courage to look him in the eye. What no one in that room realized was that Jack Lawson, the man they barely acknowledged, held within him the real meaning of justice. Judge Hunter adjusted his robes with mechanical disinterest, flipping through the case file with the careless ease of someone who thought they'd seen it all before. Jack Lawson, 79 years old, charged with illegal occupation of city property, he muttered, almost to himself. He smirked. Another case. Another day. He didn't even look up when he spoke. "Let me guess," he said. "No permanent address, no lawyer, no job worth mentioning, and no respect for the law you so casually break." Jack didn't blink. Across the courtroom, Olivia Wells, a young clerk, paused as she glanced at Jack. Something about his presence stirred an old memory, a man once full of energy, leading projects that built the very foundation of the city, his hands covered in the grime of creation. But she quickly shook the thought away. No, that couldn't be him. Not here, not now. Judge Hunter was already moving on. Efficiency, folks. We don't have time to indulge fantasies. We have a docket full of people who think their feelings are more important than property rights. He didn't look at Jack. Instead, he looked at the paperwork, then back at Jack, but saw only what he expected to see: an elderly man, out of place with no real claim to what he had come for. "You don't deserve any favors," Hunter said, leaning forward. "The city owes you nothing. Your memories aren't deeds." The room went quiet, a heavy silence, the kind that fills a space with permission for something unspoken. No one interrupted. No one objected, except, perhaps, in the way Jack sat, tall and unbroken, as if his mere presence was a protest. Olivia Wells couldn't look away. She whispered to herself, "This isn't who they think he is." Her fingers tightened on her pen. Judge Hunter cleared his throat. "I'll make this quick. Mr. Lawson, you have 2 minutes to speak. If you have something to say before sentencing, now's your time." Jack didn't stand. He didn't rush to prepare a speech. Instead, he lifted his head, steady and calm, and said, "I'll speak when you're ready to listen." The judge scoffed. "Are you wasting my time, Mr. Lawson?" He snapped, ready to dismiss him. But then, in the silence that followed, something changed in the room. The usual tension in the air shifted, and it wasn't just the judge who felt it. Jack's voice was clear, his words slow but steady. "The house, it used to be mine. I helped build this city. I built it with my hands. I built the walls that cradled people, sheltered them, gave them dignity in their last moments. I created spaces meant to heal. Now, I'm standing before walls that judge me." His words settled into the room, heavy and deliberate, leaving no room for doubt. The courtroom didn't gasp. It simply slowed its breathing. Judge Hunter scoffed again, tapping his file nervously. "So what? You think your past excuses your trespassing?" Jack's gaze met his, not with anger, but weariness. "No, sir. I'm saying the law has forgotten its memory." The words hung in the air, filling the room with a weight greater than any sentence. Judge Hunter dismissed it with a grunt. 30 days in county jail. No more delays. The sentence came down, final and unyielding. But Jack didn't flinch. He checked his old watch, well-worn, but reliable, and then calmly asked, "May I make one phone call?" The judge sneered. "To who?" "Your old drinking buddies." Jack didn't respond. A bailiff handed him the phone, and Jack didn't hesitate. He didn't scroll. He dialed the number he knew by heart and brought the phone to his ear. Just 3 words, "It's time now." He handed the phone back, calm and composed. No one understood what he had just said in emotion. Outside, the unmistakable sound of sharp heels echoed through the hall. Confident, unhurried, as if every step commanded respect. The doors to the courtroom swung open, and in walked a woman dressed in a simple, elegant black suit. No fanfare, no apology. Her name was Emma Lawson, Jack's daughter. She carried herself with an authority that needed no permission, no approval. The bailiff didn't try to stop her. Neither did the judge. Emma placed her hand gently on her father's shoulder, and without a word, she reached into her jacket, pulling out a small leather folder. She laid it on the table with quiet determination, not dramatic, but with certainty. Inside the folder were deeds, legal agreements, architectural plans, all notarized, sealed, and signed. Jack hadn't trespassed. He'd come home. Judge Hunter's mouth moved, but no words came out at first. Emma spoke, her voice steady and firm. "My father didn't ask for a favor. He didn't ask for pity. He only wanted to sit on the porch he built." Each word cut through the layers of ignorance. When the judge finally croaked out, "Motion granted," it didn't sound like mercy. It sounded like defeat. The courtroom didn't cheer. It didn't clap. It exhaled like it had finally taken a deep breath. Jack Lawson stood slowly, placed his worn hat on his head, and walked out, not in triumph, but in quiet dignity. Before he reached the door, he paused, turned slightly, and said, "Start listening. Start seeing. No anger, no bitterness. Just a reminder from a man whose life was too vast to be contained by any courtroom. Sometimes justice doesn't come with a bang. It walks in worn boots, carrying nothing but memory and the quiet strength of dignity." As Jack Lawson stepped out of the courtroom, his presence lingered in the air, a quiet testament to the power of resilience. He hadn't won a battle through the loud force of words or the chaos of protest. No, his victory came from something far deeper, a calm, unwavering belief in the truth, in the value of memory, and in the weight of personal integrity. In that moment, the room that had once dismissed him now had to reckon with the enormity of his quiet courage. The judge, who had seen countless cases without a second thought, had been forced to confront the humanity in front of him. Jack Lawson, a man who was barely noticed by those who thought they held the power, had shown that true strength lies not in defiance, but in the unwavering resolve to stand for what's right, even when it feels like the world has turned its back on you. This was not just about an old man reclaiming a porch. It was about a system that had forgotten its foundation. It was about a truth that had been buried under the weight of bureaucracy, where laws and rules often become tools of control, not justice. Jack's case was not merely a dispute over property. It was a plea for a society to remember its roots, to acknowledge that true justice doesn't always fit into the neat boxes we try to create. Sometimes it's messier than that. It's about dignity. It's about respect. And above all, it's about seeing the people who have been ignored for far too long. Emma Lawson's entrance wasn't just a dramatic moment. It was the culmination of a story that had been unfolding for years. A daughter standing by her father, not out of obligation, but because she understood the depths of what was at stake. She wasn't just defending her father's rights. She was standing up for a truth that couldn't be erased by a legal document or a ruling. She was reminding everyone that the very people who had built the city, who had shaped its skyline with their hands, are often the first to be forgotten in the rush of progress. As Jack's footsteps faded into the distance, the courtroom was left with something more than just a ruling. They had witnessed something profound, a man who, despite being underestimated, had redefined what it meant to stand up for what's right. And in doing so, he reminded us all that true justice requires more than just following the law. It demands the courage to challenge it when it fails to honor the people it was meant to protect.